The bye week is gone. It took them 8 weeks to finally have a bye week, and it has now come and gone. Rob Akey had a very Rob Akey press conference today. He said, "Hey, want to see the kids smile again? I want to get these boys going for the game. We're not going to talk about a quarterback either." Josh, buddy, it was a weird weekend of watching college football without the Beavs. How are you doing today, man?
We're back. It's game week, and just like any other week, it's felt like there's been some interesting drama circulating Corvallis, and here we are again on a Monday finding out some craziness. I mean, we just can't get away from it, but shine some light on it. I think it's something that everybody wanted.
It is, and we will address a couple of elephants in the room as we go, but we do have a football game to look forward to on Saturday. And your boy is flying out from Austin, Texas to Corvallis to watch the Beavs and the Cougs face off for the first time this season. And of course, welcoming back a Cougar legend, the third time back on Chainsaw Crew. Rev it up, Mr. John Scukanec, brother. You're a legend for coming back for a third time. I know these last couple of weeks have been tough. I know your Mariners had such a great season, man. I want to commend you and your Mariners for having such a great season. Thank you for coming on, dude. How are you doing, John?
Listen, I don't know that I'm prepared to talk about the Mariners yet. It's still too fresh. I
Fair.
had I had World Series. I would be going to the World Series game tomorrow. I had tickets for the World Series. I bought Mariner World Series tickets. That's how close we were. They just had to get there, and they got 8 outs away. So I'll be honest with you, gentlemen. It's nice to see you guys. It's a pleasure to be back. But I don't know that I can talk Mariners. It's a little too raw for me
No,
right
yeah,
now.
I know. I'd be the exact same way if the A's were that close, dude. It's just it's a great season though. I'm sure a lot of Mariners fans will come back in a month or two when you get more amped up for spring training and appreciate that run that they had. It's a monumental step in the right direction for the Seattle organization just to get to a World Series. And I think with this current core of their roster, they'll have another shot to get there again. But I mean, Toronto's a good team. I mean, that's a tough series. You took them to the wire, and they're showing it in the World Series currently that they're a very solid team. But
Yeah, Toronto's really good. They deserve to win the series. Probably they were a better team, which makes it hurt a little bit more. I mean, the Mariners got up 2-0, and then they
yeah,
went back home and couldn't do that, and then they won Game 5, and so they just needed one of the last two and couldn't do it. And famously, the only team that's never been to the World Series, and in classic Mariner fashion, right? I mean, I'm watching the game. There, I'm trying not to count outs, and stupid John Smoltz on the broadcast is
he
like, they're
does it
12 outs
every
away. And
time.
I'm
He
like,
does
oh,
it every time.
you know, and we got to 8 outs away. We were 8 outs away,
Yeah.
and then it happened. And I could have handled Vladdy Guerrero hitting that home run all day long. I like Vladdy. He's a good player, great player. The fact that it was Springer, I just,
I
you know,
know.
I
I
have a
know.
Oh,
trident. I
Springer.
have a full size trident in my man room, just like the Mariners have, and I wanted to jam it in my eye.
Uh,
That was tough. That was a tough one to watch. So maybe they get there next year, or hopefully soon. Hope springs eternal, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. And hey, man, talking about this football game coming up, maybe a little bit of a lighter note. Hey, Wazzu's coming off a nice 28-7 win against the Toledo, whatever they're called, the Rockets. Good win for the Cougs after coming off two tough road games against very, very good football teams. What's your impression been so far of this new era under the Cougs of Jimmy Rogers?
Interesting season so far, and I don't know. Like every time I want to get a feel for what this era is going to be, something else. I don't know that I know what the era is going to be yet. Like I've seen them look really bad and win. I've seen them look really bad and get blown out. I've seen them play really tough and win. I've seen them play really tough and lose. Um, so I think you know from where they started to where they are now, I think they've gotten consistently better. And that's really all you can ask, I think, for this season. New coach, new system, something like 75 new players that they got. Like, I don't even know how you begin to start that process. And the fact that you could look at the, 4-4, couple of really tough road losses where they played really well against better competition, you can honestly say that the Cougs have gotten consistently better. And so I think from that standpoint, that's a positive. I think he's doing a good job kind of building a culture there. What that's going to look like when he gets couple of recruiting classes underneath him, and how that unfolds, I'm not sure. But overall, I mean, you never want to be just 4-4, but I think it's a positive for the Cougs this year. I think Coug fans can look at the season at this point right here and feel pretty good about it. Now, the $1 million question, right? The other side of the coin is, how are you going to finish? 4 games left, 2 against the Beavs, which, by the way, we talked about a little bit before I hate that so much. I don't know how you guys feel, but I hate that it's so high schoolish, and it just, I get why they're doing it, but I hate that we're doing this and then we're going to do it just a couple of weeks later. But anyway, how they finish in these last 4 games is going to set the table for the offseason and beyond, I think. So cautiously optimistic at the 4-4 mark.
Yeah, 4-4 sounds quite nice versus 1-7 if you're asking me. But we talk about some of those games going down and playing some tough teams. Well, they went down in Ole Miss and Virginia and gave them their best punch. What have those games told you about this program's direction going forward?
I think what it has told me is that they believe in Coach Rogers. I've been on that. I've been in the locker room. I've been on the field when you're going someplace that you're outmanned, right? And make no mistake, the Cougs, they went there to win the game. And, there's no moral victories. You lose. But I've been in the locker room where we've played against national championship teams, Nebraska, and I've gone against, Oregon when they've been really good, and UW when they've been really good. And when you're outmanned and you still play hard and you still give it everything you got, to me, that says that they believe in Coach Rogers. It would have been, at the point they went down to Ole Miss, they could have rolled over, and they didn't. In fact, they did the opposite. They came out, and you could argue if they had another minute on the clock or a couple of timeouts, that game gets really interesting down the stretch. And what I took away from that, and then to follow that up with what they did at Virginia, I think they believe in Coach Rogers. I think you play hard for a guy you believe in, and you can't look at those last 2 games there on the road and feel that the Cougs didn't play hard, because they absolutely did. And that's a good sign. I think that means he's doing the right things. He's connected with the team. And he's pushing the right buttons, at least at this point in the season. And that's what I took out of that. And that's a positive to see.
We've seen new coaches at Wazzu and Oregon State just honestly too many times in the last 2 years. Dicker going to Wake Forest, and now you have Jimmy Rogers stepping in. Trent Bray steps in for Jonathan Smith, and now Trent Bray's fired. Now Rob Akey steps into an interim role. I know Wazzu fans are very familiar with Rob Akey and his time as a DC. Then he moved over to Idaho to be the head coach. He got to Wazzu just right after your playing days. But what do you think of Coach Akey as a person so far at Oregon State? And what have you heard from his time at Wazzu as a DC? If the program were to be handed to him at OSU for some reason, let's say they hit lightning in a bottle, go 5-0 to finish this year, would you trust him to get a job like Oregon State done?
Yeah, I mean, everything. I've never met him, but like you said, I know people that have. I've heard stories of his time in Pullman and around, and he just feels like a guy that you don't hear anything bad about. Like I don't know anybody that has anything bad to say about him. I don't know, Cougs that I know and trust really love the guy, and so you don't hear anything negative about him, and so. You look at what he did, that's a tough spot to take over, right? You're 0-7, you fire the coach, you're handed the reins. Well, all you can do is somehow find a way to win that next game. And he did, right? And he did. And like we talked about with Coach Rogers, that's a belief factor right there. Whatever he said and did and communicated to those kids in the locker room, they did not roll over for him. They came out and they played hard. And I expect them to do it this week too. We were joking with each other before we hit record. If you think this is a game that Oregon State can't win, this is absolutely a game that Oregon State can win, because they're going to believe that they can. And part of that is past success. They beat WSU last year. Part of that is a new start. They're coming off of a bye week, and that Akey has been in their head for the last 2 weeks. Hey, it's in the past. We turned it around. We can do this. You've beat these guys before. You can play with these guys. Like, we can do it. You're going to get Oregon State's best shot this week. Now, moving forward, I don't know if he somehow runs the table. How do you not give him a look, right? But there's also the other side of that where can you do better? And I don't know. You guys would be better to answer that question right now with the state of the program, with the 7 losses, with the taste in your mouth still from Bray. Can Oregon State go out and do better than Rob Akey? I don't know. You guys tell me. You follow the program more closely than I do. Do you think they could do better?
I don't. I think that's what we're trying to figure out right now, right? Seems like there's two different directions that this can go, and that kind of leads into our next question here. But do you go the Coach Rogers route, and do you go and get the next up and coming FCS guy, or are you going out and you're going to get, I don't know, a name that's been floating around like Edo, which we do not like right now, or Brian Kelly? Do you go get someone that's a little bit more veteran out there? Is it worth Oregon State exploring that FCS route and going to get that up and comer versus going to get someone that might be a little washed and more veteran?
I think you have to be honest with you. Now, full disclosure, I didn't know anything about Coach Rogers before we hired him, right? I mean, I know where he came from was a good program, but I didn't know anything about him. But I'm so happy that they went and took a swing at somebody like that, because I think, in Pullman and in Corvallis, we're playing with 2 strikes all the time. We just are, right? Facilities, money, the conference uncertainty. And so I don't think you're going to go get an established name. And the names you met, I don't think if you're Oregon State, you don't want a guy that's just looking for one last payday. And I'm not saying that Coach O is doing that or whatever, but there would be a feel for that, right? Like, why would Brian Kelly come to Corvallis? Like, why would he do that? He's just, it doesn't make sense to me. Whereas you could go get a young up and comer like Coach Rogers and you could sell him, hey, we're up a division, right? Better facilities, a little bit better resources, even with the uncertainty. Come and do it at this level. Come do it here. And I think Oregon State has the ability to go do that. So I hope that they don't settle for, and I'm going to use the term retread. That may not be fair. But I think they need to go find that next guy. Go find somebody that has a record of success, that has a record of building a culture, and bring him here. You can win in Corvallis. You guys know that. Like Corvallis, the stadium's there, the resources are there. You can win in Corvallis. So go get somebody that knows how to do that and see what they can do.
And not even young. We're looking at Brett Vegan from Montana State. He's not young. He's been there forever, and he's proven that he can win. So that's another guy, FCS level, who knows how to build a program. He can do it. It's just like, hey, you got to come into a higher level group of 6, lower level Power 4 kind of job, and you're going to be dealing with NIL now, probably for the first time ever. I know Montana State has a little bit, but their quarterback's not making $1.5 million to ride Pine. So it's like you're going to have to deal with that now. So there's a lot of interesting factors. And I think Jimmy Rogers has handled it tremendously well at Washington State so far. And like you said, like 75 new players, dude, like that's insane to deal with. And he brought a lot of guys from the FCS level to come up with him. And you're seeing that Wazzu is clearly very well coached. Like they have some moments of like some blunders, like the fair catch issue at Virginia. You're like, well, that's not the play you want there. But you see overall, like you said, they believe in him. They play hard for him. And they just have this like play like nothing matters kind of mentality. When they went to Oxford, what are they, like 28.5 point dogs? And they're just like, we don't care. We're actually going to play them to the wire. And
yeah,
and that's what Oregon State needs, dude. We just need this like, we don't give a shit attitude. We're going out there and we're going to give you our best shot every single week. We don't care who's against us. And like Kurt Zanetti said, against UCLA, you can't play scared. You got to attack. And I feel like Wazoo does that all the time. And dude, it's Josh and I talked about this last week, John. This is a monumental hire for Oregon State football because it feels like Washington State gets it right every single time with the hires, maybe except for Paul Wolf. Other than that, they've gotten every single hire right, and you guys find guys and just they always work quarterback wise, and the system and on offense, it always works. Oregon State, it doesn't always work. They've had some issues hiring in the past, so like this one is monumental. Like they have to get this right.
Yeah, it's a big hire. And to be fair, right? We talked about it, when they did it. I thought Bray was a good hire. I really did. I don't know why it didn't work out. I don't I'm not sure, right? I'm not smart enough to dissect all of that, but I thought it was a good hire and I liked it at the time. But you're right. In Pullman and in Corval, in any school, you miss this hire and you're set back. In Pullman and Corvallis, it's that much more important because of some of the restrictions and handicaps that you're dealing with already off the cuff before you even get there. And so it's huge. It really is. And we talked about Coach Akey before. That would be my only reservation. And again, I don't know the guy. He's well thought of. If he did something where he went, 5-0 or 4-1 down the stretch, you'd have to look at him. But is he the guy? Is it worth taking a shot on somebody who was able to come in and right the ship for 5 games? And is that enough of a resume to hand over, the most important decision this program is going to make over the next 3 or 4 seasons? I don't know. I don't know the answer for that.
And they just fired their deputy AD today, Brent Blaylock, who was going to be on the hiring committee along with Brandon Cooks and Mike Riley and a few other people. And that's the list that Scott Barnes came up with. And now Barnes is being sued by a former rowing coach. So there's a lot of things going on in the athletic department. And you still got to hire a football coach here in the next month and a half or so. So a lot of moving parts. And these last 2 years have been super weird, super odd. If you can line up all the money that Wazzu and Oregon State has spent on traveling to go play teams, trying to get these home and homes for future events, it's been so crazy, man. And Oregon State's paying Tulsa for a home and home. And then they're paying Sam Houston State like $500,000. They paid Lafayette $500,000. We're talking about, Oregon State, Washington State are playing twice this season, and they're doing that to avoid that money that they don't have to spend anymore, right? But this is the Pac-2, baby. We'll play anywhere, just like Washington State. You guys will go to Oxford and Virginia.
Right? I remember when I was on with you guys and we were talking when they hired Bray, and there was definitely a sense of shock when Smith left. And you kind of did we had to, right? He was in building and we kind of had to go this route. And I almost wonder again, I don't understand why it didn't work completely, but it almost feels to me like because you did that once, like go interview some people and like, there's no secret here. Like you mentioned, there's a lot going on. So bring those candidates in and say, look, this is what's going on. You tell me how you're going to fix it. You tell me how do we fix this? And maybe you get the right guy. Maybe you get a guy that's just like, hey, I can do this, and this is how I'm going to do it, and it blows you away. And that's where you go. Maybe it's not the best thing to settle for a guy that's in-house because he's in-house right now.
Right. And I feel like Scott Barnes is the kind of AD where he gets burned once by something, he doesn't want to do it again. So it's, again, he's got to tread this water very lightly, and he's got to get it right. But whoever you get next season, you're going back into some normalcy.
Yeah.
We get to play a conference slate again. And I know it's not, it's not USC, it's not UW, it's not Oregon anymore. But hey, when you look at this new conference, you're looking at San Diego State right now. They are catching lightning in a bottle. They're having a huge season. They've shut out 2 teams this year, 2 FBS teams this year who are pretty good in Fresno State and Cal. And then you look at Boise State, who's always successful. How excited are you to get back to this normalcy into a conference? And again, it's not the old one, but again, it's a conference. How excited are we to get back into a conference slate where we're playing Pac-12 teams?
I think it's huge. I think it's huge. I think, like you said, it's not the old one, and that one's not coming back, right? So there may be a little bit more of a hangover where you just feel that, but I think after we get to this point in next season, and I think that's kind of gone. And after a year, it's kind of gone. This is going to conference. It really is. They've done a really good job kind of assembling it and putting it together and doing some of the things in other sports that are going to make it a nice conference. So I, for one, am excited to get back. Let's get back and let's do this, right? There's nothing wrong with Boise State coming to town and San Diego State coming to town. It's going to be a good conference, and I'm more than ready to jump into it. So I'm excited for next year and the future. I think they're going to do good things. I think the leadership in the conference is headed in the right direction. And let's go. Let's do this. Let's play for real.
Yeah, and just Got a couple more questions for you, but I just have one question before I ask you this next one. As a former player, just someone that's been in a football program, Rob and I have been talking, and there's also a lot of noise on social media about the possibility of Coach Smith coming back. As a player and someone that's been in a football program, how does that make you feel thinking about having a coach possibly come back a few years later after it felt like he left you dead in the water to go somewhere else?
I would personally not like it. And that's 52-year-old me, right? I have no idea how the 20-year-old kid today thinks about it. It's a different world than when I played. But I can tell you guys this. For me in the locker room, I would have felt like he abandoned us. And I would have said, screw you, right? You don't want to be here, screw you. We'll do this without you. And I would be a little bit angry if he tried to come back. I would be one of the players that's like, no, we don't want you. We're done. And so I don't know what the kids nowadays think. I don't know if he would be well received, even with the turnover nowadays, right? That's different than when I played. He could probably come back and there wouldn't be that many more people in the locker room that remember him. So I think you could pull it off a little easier than you could in my day in 2025. I personally would hate it. And I would be one of the players that would say, you know what, we're good. We don't need you back.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I think that's a really good assessment. I think there's a lot of Beaver fans that feel that same way right now towards them. It's like we don't want him stepping back on campus, but for me at least, and I'm not sure how much Rob agrees with it. It's just having a guy come in that could, and I said it multiple times, that could sell Corvallis to a sheet of paper is huge right now, especially in a time that you almost don't want to rebuild, right? You don't want to start fresh because if you start fresh and it doesn't work out, it feels like you're just falling that much further behind the eight ball. But it just brings a great perspective, and I think it's easy to forget that sometimes what we want as fans is not what is best for this Oregon State football team. So let's
Well,
jump ahead to Saturday real quick. Oh, you got something to say?
no,
Sorry.
no, no. I'm just saying, that's why nostalgia is great, right? But you have to
For
guard
sure.
against it
Yeah.
because there were some good times with him for sure. And when you're in bad times, right? And right now it's bad times in Corvallis. It's easy to look in the rearview mirror and be like, it was really good once. Why can't it be again? I think you
Mhm.
have to guard against that a little bit. I mean, he left for a reason, and why is he coming back? Right? Like, why is he coming back? So I would be cautious for that. But again, that's just me.
Well, we know one thing, that's for sure. You're not cautious about this outcome for the Cougs on Saturday. So let's jump up to it. Saturday's, it's an interesting matchup, right? Looking at the rest of the Wazoo schedule, the Cougar fans are probably thinking, all right, beat the Beavs, beat Louisiana Tech. If we can hang with Ole Miss and Virginia on the road, then JMU shouldn't be a problem then, right? And then beat the Beavs again. So 8-4 is looking like a very good possibility. But as we talked about, and weird things happen in Corvallis.
Yes, they
Bees have
do.
found a slight spark under Coach Akey. What are your expectations going into this game on Saturday?
You guys, we've talked enough to know, and like I said, I was joking with you from the jump here today. Do not think for 1 second this is not a winnable game for the Beavs. I promise you that it is. Now, I will say this: I believe Coach Rogers has them pointed in the right direction. They play hard. I really like their defense. Right, the offense, it's not very dynamic. It's a little plodding for me. But the defense shows up. They show up pretty much every week. They play hard. And so that gives me a good feeling headed into this game. Here's where I get nervous is you're dealing with kids, you're dealing with belief. And at 0-7, there's a lot of doubt in that room, right? This sucks. We suck. We're not very good. We're 0-7. I promise you guys, that one win is huge. It really is. It takes away a lot of that where we can't win. Well, we just did, right? And you have a built-in, I'm going to use the word excuse, but that's not what I'm trying to say. You have a built-in marker, right? All of the problems, we fixed them. We're gone. He's gone. Like they fired it. They got rid of this. Like it's a new start. And we're 1-0. And I guarantee you, Coach Akey has sold that for 2 weeks. We're 1-0 right now. We're not 1-7. And then you look at past, right? It's a familiar opponent. These two schools are familiar. They know each other. They can play with one another. They beat the Cougs last year. So I guarantee you that Oregon State thinks they can win this game. And I guarantee you that they're going to come out and play hard. We're going to get their best shot. The trick for WSU is you have to start putting that doubt back in real early, right? You need to jump on them. It needs to be 14-0 pretty quick. And then that doubt's going to come back, and you're going to get those guys in the Beavers side of the field that's like, all right, maybe, if it's 10-10 at halftime or 13-10 or something like that, it's a dogfight. It's going to be a dogfight the whole game. So the Cougs should win this game. I believe they're a better team. I believe that they're better coached right now. But you never know, right? You never know. And that's where I get a little bit nervous is I've seen that movie before. I've seen this game before, and I've seen it not go my way. So hopefully the Cougs play hard and take care of business because they should win. They're a better team.
John, man, you're the best for coming on, dude. And if there's anybody to have in our corner, if we're in a boxing match, it's John Scukanec because Cougs are to the death, brother. You guys already had your monumental Cougat moment against Virginia, so I don't think that's going to happen again. I like your guys' chances. Vegas only has you guys as 3.5-point favorites, which was like mind blowing to me. But that's what we call a rat line, John.
Well, Vegas knows, right?
Yeah,
like Vegas knows, and I'm telling you, like if you told me right now that going into the fourth quarter this is a one-score game, I believe you, and I would believe you either way. Strange things happen in Corvallis, and you don't know like how are these guys going to respond. They should show up and play hard, and they should win. WSU should win this game. But there you go. You don't know. So I hope that happens. I think it's going to happen. I don't think WSU is capable of boat racing anybody. I don't see that happening. In a perfect world, this to me is a little similar to what we just watched last weekend with WSU, 24/7 type of stuff, 28-10. I think the Cougs should be able to do that and win this game relatively comfortably. But again, right, it's a little rain, a little cold, you're on the road, you drop a ball. Zevi has shown that he can throw to the wrong team, throw a couple picks. Belief is a powerful ally. And if the Beavers go into halftime believing, because they will, at kickoff, they will believe they can beat WSU. If they still believe at halftime, it's going to be a dogfight in the second half.
100%, dude. And hope is a dangerous thing. Hope can kill a man. So let's see. John, before
Look, I've been a Mariner fan since 1988. I'm with you. I'm with you.
Exactly. Before you go, John, I had a slight moment driving home from work today, and I was thinking, should I dress up as John Scukanec for Halloween? Because I'm fully bald. I shaved my head, and I was going to come on here with my Cougar polo because I have one, and my glove. And I was going to be you for Halloween for this podcast. But then I decided against it. I was like, I probably look weird when we post this on YouTube and I'm wearing a Washington State polo and a glove.
I'll tell you this. I'd be honored, for one. I
thought about it.
Yeah, I'd be honored. You'd have a lot of explaining to do.
Yeah.
There'd be a lot of people that'd be like, what are you dressed up as? Well,
that's
see,
the best when you have to explain your
right. I know this guy, and he's just, so maybe go with Spider-Man or something a little more.
Well, I was Buzz Lightyear last year at work, and that was a disaster. The thing was too small for me. I'm 6'3", and it was like for kids. It was ridiculous.
Well, tell you what, we're up against it this year. If next year you decide you want to go, let me know. I'll send you a jersey. You can borrow it, and you can do it for real.
Okay. All right. Hey, you heard it here first, folks. Okay, John Scukanec's going to
so down for this.
And depending on if I'm not sure how the conference schedule is going to line up next year. Like, is Washington State going to come back to Corvallis? I think it'd be fair for Oregon State to go to Pullman next year. But if it lines up, I want to make my Pullman trip again. So if it lines up, we'll figure it out.
If it lines up like that, we'll have to make something happen. We can hang out and have a catch.
Absolutely, John. Thank you so much again for coming on, dude. Go Cougars, go Beavs, and see you in a few weeks.
All right. See you guys.
John Scukanec, man, we just can't say enough nice things about the guy. Former Coug offensive lineman. He played on some pretty solid teams back in the 90s. And he's just one of our chainsaw crew goats, dude. Josh, how are you feeling? There's a lot of elephants in the room at this zoo that is Chainsaw Crew that we have to talk about. But how are you doing, man? Brent Blaylock was relieved of his duties today. How do you feel?
Pretty slow weekend, right?
Oh yeah,
And
nothing going on.
I think it was pretty funny that we kind of started hearing whispers of this. I think it was like Friday, either Friday or Saturday, that it was
Hmm.
coming. And I think it's easy to get caught up in social media. And when you're reading some of these things, it's a lot of people farming, you feel like. But
Hmm.
then you realize that, oh, when it happens a few days later, like, some people are very legitimate about what they have to say. And sometimes you just got to buy into it. And sometimes when you bite into it, it's sour, and sometimes it's not, right? So here we are, just as interesting as a Monday we can ask for in Corvallis. And I think what happened today with Brent getting fired was something many weeks in the making, right? It was something that needed to happen. And I'm not going to, I texted you earlier, I'm not going to take credit for anything, but when this all started happening, I think there was lots of red flags and there was a lot of questions I had pondering in my mind about just everything that went down with the collective being sold, the blueprint, and just everything. And I think it's funny that the power that we as fans, as writers who are covering this team have, when you start asking the questions, the hard questions, it's funny what happens. And I'm sure there's a handful of people that listen to our podcast that aren't on social media, but there was a lot of people, man, demanding answers right now. And when you started getting some of those answers about this blueprint deal, it was like, what are we doing? Like, how is this even possible? How did the collective get sold in such a bad deal that we're ending up with this now? And then John Canzano drops a nice bomb on us this morning. And some of the stuff that you're reading in this article, it's like, there's just no way this happened. It just seems like it's so out of this world that any of this could happen. And when we look back at this now, I was very critical of Kyle's situation. And for those that don't know who Kyle is, he was the owner of Damnation Collective. And there was a lot of stuff that happened. And there's a lot of stuff in that backstory that we're probably not going to know anytime soon. But with being as critical as I was in that moment, I think I was very wrong. And I think that happens very easily with some of this stuff until you get what you got today, because it's like, there's just no way any of this could happen, right? Scott Barnes, Brent Baylock, what are we doing? Like, how are these two guys running this athletic department in such a shady manner, right? And not only did they do that, they screwed probably the best thing they had at Oregon State, and that was Kyle. And it's just it sucks so bad realizing just how awful it is and what he went through. But now it kind of feels like he's getting his money's worth right now on the back end because, hey, what did we get out of this? Absolutely nothing, Rob. And I think this is our first step in the right direction. And hopefully we start pivoting here and making some good choices as a university. And that, again, like we talked about with John, starts with naming a head coach here pretty soon.
100%. And there's so much work to be done at Oregon State right now. It is insane. And now you have this lawsuit about to go down with the former
So
rowing
bad.
coach.
So bad.
$4.5 million are on the table here. It's an old sexual harassment thing, and it's clearly Barnes handled it incorrectly, and now Gabriel Winkler is suing. Dude, I think what we're seeing here and what we've been seeing here the last few weeks has pretty much started from the Trent Bray firing. And it even goes further back to when Kyle resigned as GM or consultant, as Brent Blaylock said he was. That's when everything was just kind of like, okay, Scott Barnes is going to start pushing things under a rug, or he's going to kick that ice cube under the refrigerator. He's going to act like it doesn't happen. Wasn't there. It's just going to melt. It's going to go away. And we've heard the rumors about the women's soccer team issues with this kind of the same line of sexual harassment going on in the program, and it was being ignored. And then the coach moved on, and it's like, eventually, dude, you do enough bad things, you're gonna get caught. And I think that's what we are currently seeing. And now he is still pushing things under the rug, acting like they didn't happen. Okay. I'm just going to relieve Brent Blaylock of his duties, and we're going to act like Blueprint never happened. And then we're just going to keep on going here. It's, buddy, Scott, I know you've had a rough last few years, right? He was revived by CPR because he had a health scare. Okay. That is a monumental moment in his life. Since then, dude, he's really been under a microscope at Oregon State. And I'm not here to like tell him what to do. I'm not here to, completely, rip on him, but these last couple of years have been bad, and he's made a lot of bad decisions, and now a lot of the bad decisions are coming to light. And you got $4.5 million on the table here from a rowing coach, dude. How many people at Oregon State think about rowing? I mean, there's a good group of people who do like the rowing club and the team because it's typically a pretty solid program. But I'm not going to be I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I was a big Oregon State rowing follower, dude. I follow that bass fishing team on Instagram because they're fire.
Yeah,
But
bro. Let's go.
I don't see that, and it's just like these are the kind of things that screw you as an athletic director. It's not just football, basketball, baseball. Okay, there's a lot more to it, and Scott Barnes, I think, is again learning the hard way, like he did at Pittsburgh, that you just can't do these things and expect to get away with it all. And I do think the writing is on the wall for Mr. Barnes. I do think his job will probably come to an end at some point at Oregon State, and it's got to be either like next week or very, very soon because, like you just said, Josh, you have a football coach to hire. What makes the carousel spin in this university? Football. Okay, you need to get it right. And is he going to be the guy hiring this coach? And if he's not going to be the guy, who does? Does President Murphy just go ahead with this hiring committee that was put together and say, guys, I need you to interview coaches? Because President Murphy, let's be real, she is not a sports person. Okay. She doesn't have any, she's not tapped into that stuff at all. She's here for educational purposes, which is fine if you're a president, but it's, dude, there's a lot of things going on in the athletic department that it's just gossip and it's just drama and it has nothing to do with on-field play. And quite frankly, I hate all of it. I just can't wait for this phase to be over, if that makes sense. Like whether you move on from Barnes or you don't, I need this thing to just keep going. Like it's just so murky right now, and the water is clear as mud, dude. It is just there's a lot of things that need to go right for Oregon State, and currently there's three things that have gone wrong. It was not listening to Kyle on who he wanted to sell the collective to, right? And what was the name of the other collective that Kyle was quoted with Canzano that he wanted to sell it to? But then Scott Barnes straight up told him, we have a way better deal with Blueprint. And that was completely false. Like Barnes made that up. That was not a better deal. There's no way that's a better deal than you would look at it on paper. And they went forward with it anyway because I think Blaylock was just in on it the whole time. Him and his buddy Rob Sine were in on it the entire time. And he just wanted to pad the pockets of his buddies and move on. And what Mr. Blaylock said, the logo on your shirt is ever changing. You know, the job stays the same. Like, yeah, dude, you have to go find a new logo now because you're a bozo and you're a bum. You were never a Beaver. And this is my last point to end my rambling, okay? There's a lot of speculation and a lot of conversation within Oregon State's fan base and Beaver Nation that hiring the next football coach, right, it's either like he's got to be, tapped in, he's got to be a Beaver, or you got to go completely away from that. When you go completely away from that, you run the risk of guys like Brent Blaylock being run into your program, right? That guy was never a Beaver. He never embodied anything about being a Beaver. And it showed right away. His quotes in the media, horrible. His explanation of Blueprint was nervous and he was shaking and his words was bad. He couldn't back it up. It felt like he was already backing and trying to make quotes that will line up in court. That's what it felt like in that interview. He was trying to be like, it's not a conflict of interest. And it was. It was the entire time. That guy's not a Beaver. And that's my issue with Scott Barnes is because Scott Barnes is not a Beaver. This guy's a Fresno State Bulldog, for one. Okay, he played basketball there. He's never really embodied being a Beaver. And after the Purdue game in 2021, he's slapping the phone out of a fan's face when they're just trying to ask him a question. He's just not a good person, man, and it's coming to light. And President Murphy needs to make a decision now. Like you can go into this lawsuit and he's not employed with you anymore. Like that's totally fine. And maybe we can settle on something else, not $4.5 million. But unfortunately, I think Coach Winkler in his rowing case he's in the right. He
For
absolutely has a
sure.
right to sue, and I applaud him for doing so, man. That's a big case. It's a huge case. So yeah, man, there's so many non-sport things going on that I don't want to talk about. But obviously we have to, right? This is a podcast. This is what we do. We talk. Two talking heads, right? But I want to talk about like who we going to hire a head coach. I want to talk about the Washington State game. I know the team's 1-7. The rest of the season is pretty much useless, but like those are the things I want to talk about. And shout out to Ryan Harlan. Shout out to the Belligerent Bees podcast for doing some good clips, and shout out to Josh Hill over here for I think you were the first one to really start the tough questions with the collective and what Kyle was really doing, because at the time it felt like he wasn't doing anything, and we come to find out he was not doing anything because he was told to stop doing everything.
For
Stop
sure.
what you're doing. We're going to take over. And again, don't 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 take the Beavers out of this equation. Kyle is a Beaver. Okay. Brent, you're not. And that's why you're gone. Okay. A lot of guys we've seen lose their jobs or be demoted here because they don't get it or they're not Beavers. And it needs to stop. Well, I hope we can move on. But yeah, Josh, any thoughts in your mind about this lawsuit, dude? Like, what's going through your head?
I think we're all just tired of it, right? I said yesterday when I tweeted out, I'm just tired of opening X and just all the drama. Every day you feel like something new is coming out about Scott Barnes, and it's just like it. At what point does it stop? Like I understand it's a bye week, but like when we look at this season and every negative that has come from it, like the special teams cluster to start the year, like how many eyes have been on this football team, this university, and the amount of negative attention
Yeah.
that it's brought? It's awful, right?
Yeah.
And we're talking about a time and a place and a year where you need everything you can have that's positive, and you just haven't got it. Thank God we won a football game 2 weeks ago, right? Because if we
People don't even know
haven't,
they won.
yeah, the misery would just be just unreal right now. So I'm excited. Washington State on the plate this weekend, and I I'm excited to finally get this door monkey off the back with Brent being gone, right? And hopefully Scott follows that, because at some point you just need some fresh air, right? You need somebody new to come in and breathe life into this university, into this athletic department. And I hope that happens, because right now the person running it feels like they're just sucking the life out of everybody
Yeah.
every single day.
Yeah. And he's getting up there in age, man, and he's getting to a point where, retirement is not out of the question, especially for someone who, again, had a very serious health scare. And thank God that he was revived with CPR. Okay, and you should go get CPR certified first aid AED. I think that's very important in life. But if that person wasn't there, it's that would have been devastating to the Oregon State community if your athletic director died. Like that would have been devastating, and it would have been really sad. And I'm thankful that he's here. I think Scott is trying to do his best here to clean up a lot of things, but unfortunately, I think it's just too little too late for him. I think he took too long on a lot of steps in this whole process. I think he hired the wrong guys in a lot of steps. It's he's been going down the stairs. We need to be up the stairs. Okay, we are falling into the irrelevant circle here of college sports, and that's not what you want. Who was it the other day? Field Yates tweeted out a Power Four jobs available, and Oregon State's not on that list. And you're like, again, another ESPN person just trying to bury Oregon State. And I understand Oregon State has Power Four facilities. They have Power Four resources, but as a team right now, they're not playing at a Power Four level, not at all. They weren't last year either. And I understand why a person like Field Yates would leave Oregon State out of it, right? But I think a lot of us in this fan base, and this is where Beaver Nation comes in huge, because I think a lot of us stepped up and said, "Hey, Oregon State has a job open too. Did you guys forget about us? You can't let them just push us under the rug like that, like Scott Barnes is trying to do with everything else. Don't let them do that." And Field Yates is an NFL guy. Like I don't, it doesn't really hold him that much weight what he's tweeting out. But again, there's just so many things that we as fans have to fight week in and week out. And when your team is 1-7, it just makes it so much harder because there's this whole narrative on social media right now where it's like, well, your team's won at 7. What do you know? It's like, what does that matter? Do you always see that like when an NFL fan, like a Jets fan, says anything about another team, they're like, well, you're a Jets fan, so what do you know? I hate that,
Nothing
dude.
changes because of the freaking 1-7 record, bro. Like we
Yeah, it's
still know
like I
football, right?
exactly, and like arguably, Oregon State fans know more than other teams because we've been through way more. We understand the ups and the downs and the ebbs and the flows of college football. That's a
For
real
sure.
fan base, right? It's not just win all the time and have crazy, ridiculous expectations like the team down south who didn't look that good against Wisconsin, who sucks. So, uh, yeah, man, I would like to move on, and I would just like to. Can we just finally just have a final decision on Scott Barnes and this athletic department going forward? And can we just get things right, man? We have such an important football hire to make here, and we're talking about lawsuits and deputy ads getting canned. It's like this football hire is, I feel like it's like the third thing on the list right now. It's like this is
Yeah.
still the biggest priority in Oregon State sports right now. You got to get it right. So let's move on to the Wazoo game, man. I'm going to be there, like I mentioned. I'm flying out. I'll be flying into Eugene on Halloween with my lovely girlfriend, Brittany. It'll be her first Oregon State game. We've been dating for a long time, and this is her first Beaver game. She's a San Jose State grad, so we're going to get kind of a similar game day atmosphere inside the stadium, I'm sure, as San Jose State for this game, since our fans. I feel like we'll get a better crowd this week compared to
For
Lafayette,
sure,
but
probably.
the rain could, keep some people away. But yeah, this is my first game in research since 2023, the massive Washington game. So this is going to be a complete 180 of a vibe inside the stadium, dude. But I'm excited to be out there. I don't care what the team's record is, man. We've been preaching it all season. Go to the games, and this is the game I'm going to. I went to the one in Texas Tech, hated that one, stuck it throughout the lightning delay, and I'm hoping to have a better outcome here in Corvallis against the Cougs. And the the second of the third elephant in the room here is you, Josh, because you're not going
Oh
to the
boy.
game on Saturday.
Listen, right? Sometimes life calls,
Yes, it
and
does.
I'm very sorry. I've let you down, and I hope that someday I can make it up to you. And I mean, coming down on Halloween weekend is not the most ideal thing when I have 17 kids. So, um, but
He's not
life moves on,
exaggerating.
right? Life moves on, man. We're excited for this Wazoo game. We're not going to keep talking about me, um, but yeah, I think the vibe is going to be interesting for you. I think they're like John said, if I'm Coach Akey, I'm selling this team on them being 1-0 right now, right? And that's just a great reminder of hopefully that's what Coach Akey is doing for this squad. I think a lot of things will tell though how this game's gonna go. I think a big key to this game on Saturday is who they start quarterback, and I pray to God it's not Malik Murphy because we
Dude,
found out
Rob did
today
not
that
want to answer that question today.
we
He
found out
avoided it.
today that Coach Akey don't want to answer those questions, and that's unfortunate because I need answers, and that scares me a little bit. But I'm hoping maybe it's just a strategic tactic on his part,
Yeah, it is.
and you got two quarterbacks that you can roll out, and it'd be interesting. I think if Malik jogs out there, this game could get ugly very
I'm
quickly.
booing.
It could get ugly very quickly. Now, we don't know what Oregon State team we're going to get, right? We're going to get the team that showed up 2 weeks ago. We're going to get the team that's shown up for the last month and some change. You also don't know what Wazoo team you're going to get either. So I think you're in for an interesting game. And like John said, and we all know, crazy things happen at Corvallis. So I think you're in for a treat on Halloween weekend, Rob.
I hope so, man. And again, I'm just playing with you. If you're listening to this, I'm not getting on Josh. He's got a busy life. He's got a bunch of kids.
Listen, he's
Is a
texted me like 300 times reminding me of this today.
Yes, no. Now I've personally asked to talk to his wife to see if I can get him out of this, but doesn't seem
Sources
that's going
tell
to be
me that's
the.
not going to happen.
And he's got very close sources. Yeah, I believe she sleeps right next to him. So, yeah, man, it sucks. I'm gonna miss you. I was hoping that we could all sit and have a little kumbaya and just do a little maybe a live show. But it's okay. It's okay. I'm gonna drop it now. I'm just gonna let it ride. I'll see you next time, I guess.
Sure. I mean, next year sounds great, bro.
Maybe you can come to Pullman if I think we're going to go to Pullman next year. I think that's what makes most sense. Maybe you can make the trip and we can do that.
That'd be
I don't
fun.
know, dude.
Hang out with
Pullman's
John. Yeah,
awesome.
that'd be cool.
Dude, Pullman is awesome. Okay, so like I mentioned, the Cougs are 3.5 point favorites. It got up to 5.5 really quick, but it's now back to 3.5. So some other betting agencies and books will have it a little bit different, but it's mainly at 3.5, which is really, really interesting. That is a Vegas is begging you to take the Washington State Cougars in this game. And typically, and I am a betting man, I do it quite a bit. These kind of games, if you're a gambler and you look at games like this, when Vegas is begging you to take the team, like Wazzu here in this spot, go the other way every time. And this is not me telling you with my heart. This is me telling you with my head. Every time the other team covers this kind of line, every time. And it feels like a rat line. But there has been one exception, okay? Vegas is kind of like the Beavs all year, and it's been kind of weird. But the Beavers were 1.5 point dogs against Wake Forest. And that felt like a huge rat line. And I fell for the bait and I took Oregon State to win the game because I was like, 1.5. Vegas feels like they want you to take Wake Forest. So you go the other way. And unfortunately, Oregon State, fired their coach after that one. So look, man, season's toast. You have 7 losses. You're playing for nothing. You're playing for pride and film at this point. Okay, go out and have some fun, dude. I hope this bye week. I hope this coaching staff can kind of tap into a little fun stuff. Maybe we see some sparks on special teams. Maybe they run a. Is this special teams capable of running a fake? First of all,
Do you have to have a good snap to run a fake?
I think the snapping has been fine. It's just like, do you trust
Do you
everything
have to
else?
block? Do you have to block
Yeah, that's
for a
the
fake?
issue. Yeah. That's the issue. But okay, well, I do
No.
think we're going to see something that is because Rob Akey just he just feels like he's going to do something fun this week. Okay, it feels like they've been cooking up the last 2 weeks in practice, and they have been trying to just make football fun again. That has been Rob's main message: is I want to see these kids smile again, and I want them having fun because football's supposed to be fun. He said that a few times, and look, I think the obvious thing at quarterback is you start the game with Jabari Johnson. That is the obvious play here, right? And if it goes a little bit poorly, okay, then we can go with Malik and see what happens, right? Because again, you're 1-7. Malik has made his money already. It clearly isn't working. But if what happened last week happens again this week, I don't think it's the same outcome. I don't think you can start the game with Malik, play him for a whole half, let it kind of just like sit and not look good. It's like when you look at gravy after 3 hours after Thanksgiving dinner, you're like, that looks like shit. I don't
That's
know. That
gross,
goes into
bro.
my body. That's what like Malik Murphy at halftime feels like. It's like you're like, that's what we've been doing. And then you
Uh,
go with Jabari. You put the gravy in the microwave. You're like, oh, that's what it's supposed to look like. Yeah, so that is my early Thanksgiving
it's great.
analogy for the Oregon State quarterback room. I think Jabari is the obvious play to start the game. As we go, we might see somebody else, but it's got to be Jabari, right? And I feel like Rob is. He
100%.
said he was like, yeah, we have a starter. We're just not going to tell you, essentially. And it's like, yeah, it's got to be Jabari, right? Like, come on,
Hmm.
it's got to be Jabari. So my keys to the game, man, are stay ahead of the sticks. If it is Jabari Johnson at quarterback, it doesn't matter if it's Malik or Jabari or Tristan or Callan. Doesn't matter. Stay ahead of the sticks, man. We cannot get too far behind. We don't want to rely on our passing game. Okay, that's gotten us in trouble in the past. And my second key is all eyes on Eckhouse. He will run a lot. He will
A
run
lot.
probably more than he throws, honestly. And like John Scukanec just mentioned, he does throw the ball to the wrong team every now and then. He didn't really have that good of a day against Toledo. I think he was like 10 of 24. That's bad. He threw 2 picks, and they still won by 21. So turn him over. Got to get him on the ground. Got to spy him the whole game. And you got to play like nothing matters because nothing does matter. Everything that's going on around you is on fire. Who cares? Put that fire on your head. Play with your hair on fire. Let's go, boys. Let's get after it. Josh, your keys to the game.
And I think that's a great observation for the quarterback, right? Because we saw that with Lafayette a little bit a couple weeks ago, and it seemed like all they wanted to do was run with their quarterback. So that's a good one. I didn't think about that. My keys, you have to roll over some of the good vibes from a couple weeks ago. You had that bye week finally 3 months later into the season, and it kind of sucks talking about a bye week after your first win in the season that late in the season. But you got to find some of those and just that some of those vibes and just roll it over. Malik, my second one, Malik has to be quarterback too. He has to. And if he's not, then I think you're already coming out digging yourself in a hole. Granted, could he have found something coming out of the bye week? Maybe. I don't think so, but here we are, and we're going to find out on Saturday what kind of Coach Akey is, and if he's willing to make some of those tough calls. Because if we're looking at it in the aspect of money, putting $1.5 million on the bench probably does not sound great, but you got to make that call and you got to do it, right? And then my third one is need a big game from Hank. Hank had a huge game against Lafayette, and he's still got a great chance to win the Heisman this year, as I predicted in the beginning of the season. So, got a couple games to get it going, and we'll just keep chugging along for him to win that Heisman.
Yeah, pipe dreams over here. Worries for the game are not if we can win a Heisman Trophy again. Is Terry Baker coming back? My worry for the games, my worries for the game, sorry. Wazzu has been on the road a lot. They've traveled a ton, and Research Stadium is not going to be anything near like Oxford or Charlottesville. The interesting thing is Wazoo fans traveled for Ole Miss in Virginia. They showed up for those games. I have friends who I met in Pullman, and they went to both of them.
Oh
And
wow.
that makes me think, are you going to travel to Corvallis? Because like it's a place you go to all the time, right? The Washington State Cougars come to Corvallis every other year, and now for the first time in a long time, back-to-back years. Do Wazoo fans come down for this game? Do they travel and show out like they did for Ole Miss? That's going to be interesting because like I feel like Wazoo fans, if they do travel, they could fill up Research Stadium pretty good on
For
Saturday,
sure.
and it'll be interesting. And like I mentioned to John, they already had their monumental Cougat moment in Virginia. That fourth quarter in Charlottesville was a disaster. It's like the yearly, oh, how did they do this? How did they lose that game? They already had that moment. So I feel like they've moved on from that. They don't have two in a year typically. Right? They've done it before, but like I think what John said, if it's 14 nothing early, you know, that doubt, that uncertainty, the negativity sets back in for the boys, and then you're kind of like, oh shit. So that's what you have to avoid that, and that's my big worry. Josh, go ahead.
My first worry is can they win another game, right? You got over that hump of winning a game. Can you win another game? And I think you have a good opportunity to do that this week. And you have a well coached Washington State team coming in. And I think sets up for a good matchup on Saturday. My second one is the Cougs have hung with some really good teams this year. And if you're an Oregon State fan, that's a little concerning, at least to me, because it feels like they could just come in and take a dump on you on Saturday. So I'm hoping they don't want to come and take a turd in Research Stadium because that would suck, right? I I think Coach Akey will have this team bought in and have them believing that they can go out and compete with anybody the rest of the year. And that's what you need, right? You need someone to instill that into your head. So I'm excited to see what kind of football team we get on Saturday.
And it's not like they're playing world beaters, dude. I mean, Wazoo's 4-4. Sam Houston's winless. Tulsa hasn't won since they beat Oklahoma State. You're not playing anybody tough the rest of the year. Like these are all winnable games. You have as much talent and you have way more talent than Sam Houston and Tulsa. You have as much talent as Wazoo. Like these games on paper, if you take away the records, like you just be like, Oregon State, Washington State should be pretty evenly matched. And that's how it
I think they
goes.
have a shot to go 5-0 the rest of the year if they beat Wazoo this week, right? Because the question is, will they go down there and can they beat them a second time? That just seems
Doesn't
so
seem
tough to
likely.
do, right? It
Doesn't
just
seem
seems
likely.
impossible, especially with a team that can't travel well and
No.
win games on the road. And then they'll be sniping heads if we beat them on Saturday and have to come down there. So
Even the good Beaver teams couldn't go to Pullman and win. So it's how it is, man. So give me your score predictions, man. Give me an update on Hannah Grace.
I left that in there. I'm sorry. There's Hannah Grace is just it's going good right now, right? We had our fundraiser a few weeks ago, so we're getting ready to have another fundraiser in January, I believe. It will be our golf fundraiser, so we'll get some information out as we know more about that. But our Hannah Grace score predictions are brought to you by Hannah Grace Family, a nonprofit located in the Pacific Northwest in Oregon City, Oregon. Hannah Grace is a local organization that serves foster children and children facing instability through a free music program, visitations, support, and more. You can visit them at hannahgrace.org. Rob, here it is. My score prediction for this week does not matter because will you forgive me for not going on Saturday?
We can forgive, but we won't forget. All right.
Hey, I I actually have the Beavs winning by 10 on Saturday.
Whoa.
I have them winning 27 to 17.
Wow.
I
That's big
think
time, man.
I think we see a different team on Saturday. And I think against Lafayette, the first half wasn't a telltale tale of this team. We saw that Rob Akey led team in the second half. And I think that carries over into this week. And I think we get 4 quarters of good football. And I'm looking forward to seeing that. Rob, what is your score prediction for this week?
See, I had it a little bit further on the other side. I thought the Cougs would win maybe by like 10 in this game. Just by watching them against Ole Miss and Virginia, I'm like, yeah, this is a pretty good team. But then I watched them against Toledo. I watched the whole game actually, and I saw some things where I'm like, they have some moments where they don't look very well oiled up, and their quarterback can make a lot of mistakes, and that's Toledo. Toledo's a very solid MAC team, but Oregon State's more talented than Toledo. At least I think they are, and that 3.5 point spread, man, it just keeps on digging at me. I'm like, what does that mean? And I have the Beavers covering the spread. I don't have them winning the game. I think it's going to be Cougs 30, Beavs 28. But, okay, this is where it sticks out to me. Again, I had an epiphany and I had a dream that Aiden Sullivan had a scoop and score touchdown in this game.
I'm here for
Okay.
it.
And I think if that happens, the Beavers win. If the Beavers can score on defense in this game, they'll win the game. And I think this team needs something like that to happen. I don't think we're going to see it on special teams where the special teams like returns a punt back for a touchdown. I don't think Trent Walker's really capable of that. We're definitely not going to see them return a kickback for a touchdown. It'd be a miracle and amazing if they did. But I think if the defense can find a way to put points on the board, they'll win this game because they need an extra boost just to kind of get the offense a little bit more help. So Aiden Sullivan, if he scores, dude, I will be going nuts wherever I'm sitting in Reser Stadium. So yeah, we'll get some coaching search notes here before Josh has to get out of here. I got to get out of here too. It's getting pretty late, but Matt Moscona was on Dirt and Sprague this morning on Monday, the 27th, and he confirmed that Ed O does want the Oregon State job, something that we kind of already knew. But he also said that this is kind of left out of Ryan Clark's tweet that Matt said he would not be a good fit, and I couldn't agree more. I don't see it happening in Corvallis. Yeah, maybe as a recruiting coordinator, yeah, hire him. That'd be great. I think he's a great recruiter. But when it comes down to coaching, getting more out of less, what has Ed O done that proves that he can do that here in Corvallis? What has he done? And also, another coach in the Power Four world in the SEC was fired, Brian Kelly. And no, Beaver fans, no. That's all I'm going to say. And I mentioned Troy Taylor as an honorable mention last week. My bad. Shout out to Spud on X. I didn't realize what happened at
I didn't realize that
Stanford.
either, man.
I had no
Holy
idea.
smokes.
I just heard that he got fired, and I was like, okay, whatever. I'm moving on. Yeah, the team was bad. He wasn't a good fit there. And then it comes out, he was reportedly being, a little bit of an a-hole to some women's staff. So I had no idea that happened.
No chance,
I never heard of that. So my bad on that. Called David Shaw instead. So yeah. To end this thing up, man, Oregon State basketball starts on Monday. The men play Monday night against North Dakota State, and the women play on Friday against Corbin. Maybe I go to the game on Friday for the women. Again. We'll see. It's like an early tip off though, so maybe I don't know if I can get there in time. But yeah, man. The third elephant in the room was we were supposed to have another guest on this week. We're not going to say his name. We want to keep it private. It's a big deal for us. I do want to say that, and we're hoping to have him on really soon. We didn't want to leave you hanging like that last week with the anticipation with the chainsaw at the end, but it's in the works. We're trying to get it done. It's just his schedule didn't really align, and we were waiting on some things to happen. So we're going to keep going. Josh is doing great work getting our guests, and I hope you guys are enjoying the podcast, we appreciate you guys coming back. Make sure to follow us on X at Chainsaw Crew, on TikTok at Chainsaw_Crew, and on YouTube, Chainsaw Crew Podcast. Give the podcast 5 stars if you have yet to do that. I think we have like 27 reviews on Spotify, which is great. We're like over 4.5 stars. So one of you didn't vote us 5 stars. So we're going to find you and we're going to say why. Okay. I'm just kidding. Thank you for listening, guys. We appreciate you. Go Beavs. If you are in Corvallis this weekend, come say what's up to your boy. I'll be wearing the Chainsaw Crew jersey. I'll probably try to find a way to get it. You know, it's going to be raining. I'll be with my girlfriend and my dad, my uncle, and it'll be a good group. So come say what's up. Come find me. DM me on X, whatever you got to do. Josh, any last words?
Go Bees, baby.
Hell yeah. I'll see you, Corvallis. Can't wait to be inside you.